Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Now the ranking member of the full committee, Ms. Delauro.
Thank you, Mr.
5 minutes.
Chairman. And let me just follow up a bit on the findings that by the 30 owners of the 68 bridges and the potential risks there. And I'll have more questions for the U.S. DOT about their work to address your key findings. I think it's critical to underline the important state-federal partnerships at work here. That includes collaboration by the board, U.S. DOT, and other federal agencies, and state departments of transportation. What more can this committee do to make sure that we are supporting the collaboration and improving our oversight of these specific bridges? And there are a number of members here who have, key bridges.
Yeah, for bridges itself, and a lot came out since our preliminary report, including a report from Johns Hopkins, and then we had a report on infrastructure showing bridges got a C rating. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when something happens. Vessel collisions happen all the time with bridges, and we have to take proactive measures to ensure safety, whether it's Federal Highways Administration and partners with the bridge owners. In this case, for hardening bridges, it could be anything from dolphins, it could be fender systems. After our investigation of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Tampa, Florida in 1980, they made substantial improvements to their bridges, but that was also a vessel collision with a collapse and 35 people died. There were a lot of lessons learned there. And as a result of that investigations, a lot of improvements came, but now these bridge owners need to ensure that they're safe.
Okay, I just would say I think it would be helpful if we could understand or make recommendations as it has to do with State Department of Transportation. In other words, to prevent rather than to react when something's significant as a loss of lives, here or the 35, and so I think that focus would be helpful.
And a lot of our recommendations for these bridge owners, a lot of them are either, in some cases, the federal government, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, in other cases, state departments of transportation.
Well, let me get to that question. I want to hear more about your experience with federal agencies, including, obviously, the U.S. Department of Transportation at this time. We have seen a termination of employees in the agencies. For DOT, 790 employees terminated, 340 were from the FAA, 170 from Federal Highway Administration. More than 20 employees terminated from DOT's Office of the Inspector General, which we all know is a watchdog for waste, fraud, and abuse, and who has had a hand in transportation as well. Although the majority of the investigations are conducted by the NTSB staff, you have to call on the expertise of other federal agencies to deal with fact-finding efforts, making recommendations to agencies such as DOT, as well as you referenced the Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Coast Guard. What are some of the trade-offs that you see with these agencies during times of uncertainty, where field and regional staffing becomes strained and operations may become overall unpredictable? Are you concerned about our ability to close out the thousands of transportation safety recommendations as there is in my view, an indiscriminate approach to cutting the federal workforce?
It would be difficult for me to, as the chair of the NTSB, to understand the positions of these individuals for the Department of Transportation. We have 427 employees, and I will say that we didn't lose one probationary employee. We got hiring exemptions from the administration. We got an exemption from deferred resignation program. We got tremendous support. And we continue to get support from the administration as a result of the hard work of our workforce. So we have not experienced any of that, and I've maintained our workforce.
I would love to, because my time will run out shortly. But that to understand what this means in terms of your relationships with the other agencies with which you need to do business, to get information, et cetera, where you haven't had that experience of the laying off of employees other agencies have, which you directly relate to, which may have an impact. The other piece of this is whether or not you are prepared, you have an authorized level of funding, but no one could foresee some of these efforts which have happened. Would very much like to know what this means in terms of the resources that NTSB needs in order to be able to address the significant issues that have come your way. They weren't planned, but they've come your way, and how you're going to be able to deal with it. That would be important for us to know. Thank you. I yield back.